Good day. Why does the universe have to suck at times? Why do I always have to be disappointed with just about every single movie adaptation ever released? I am, of course, talking about the horrendous Warhammer 40k film simply entitled Ultramarines. Before we get to the film, though, let's first take a look at a bit of background on Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer 40k was, and still is, a tabletop war game. It was first released in 1987. Now, for those that don't know what a war game is, well, you have little miniatures that represent armies, and you fight them, and you have rule books and dice that are similar to D&D. Personally, I have never had any desire to play the Warhammer 40k game, because one, it looked extremely boring, and two, the miniatures cost way too much for me ever to even consider trying to afford. Now, I actually went into a Games Workshop once, and I saw that it cost $50 just to learn how to play the game itself. Any game where you have to pay $50 to be taught how to play it just isn't really worth it to me. Really, though, how I derive enjoyment from the 40k mythos is from the novels. The 40k book series is actually one of the best book series of all time. Black Library, the publisher, has some great talent on hand, and there are numerous 40k book cycles that are just splendid. Cyphus Cain, Eisenhorn, the Ultramarine series by Graham McNeil are just to name a few. And now we come to the point of no return. We must actually watch this blasphemy of a film. Now, just so everyone knows, I wanted to love this film. I actually checked the website time and again just so I could keep up with any and all updates. But really, when I saw it, I was disappointed beyond all belief. This movie just angered me to the core. So now, let's actually get it over with. The film opens with an extremely discordant battle sequence that is just lights and sounds, and while not completely pointless, is jarring as all hell. And if you don't know anything about Warhammer 40k, you are going to have no idea what's going on whatsoever. But oh wait, it gets worse. We then get this opening narration that is basically a modified version of the little intro text from all of the books. But here's the problem. This intro is wrong in many ways. Just listen to this.
All that stands in their way are the mighty Space Marines.
What about the Imperial Guard? They have billions of soldiers, and they actually do most of the fighting and dying. They are actually the ones that are called out for just about everything. The Space Marines are specialists. They only handle the most important missions. They're not the only line of defense at all. I mean, duh.
And the greatest of them all are the Ultramarines.
Blasphemy! Blasphemy! Ah! Well, that's just not true. The Ultramarines are not the best among the Space Marines. I mean, that statement should never have been made. That's the quickest way to piss off any fan. Everybody has their own personal favorite, and everybody knows that the Ultramarines are not the best. And arguably, the best Space Marines could be the Grey Knight because they have the most advanced technology and they have the most advanced genetic augmentations. But the idea that they would say something like that. Let's move along. Okay, let's try to get this done. The film proper does open fairly well with a decent sword fight, and we get introduced to our main character Proteus, voiced by the same guy who played Sergeant Wells in Dog Soldiers. Fetch! Proteus is a fiery youth that wants his brother Captain to yield to him, but of course he doesn't and promptly knocks him on his ass. And then the movie, not wanting to waste time, angers me again.
You are about to receive the honor of going into combat for the first time as Ultramarines.
Now, for those of you that don't know the Warhammer 40k mythos, you're not going to care, but that is wrong. So wrong. Space Marines have to be Scout Marines for years, decades even, before they're given the right to become a full Space Marine. They have to earn the right to be an Ultramarine through years of hardship. They're not just given to it after the bloody first mission. Then there is this bloody Warhammer. Yeah, get it? Warhammer 40k? There's Warhammer. Real clever. Ugh. Never in any of the Ultramarines novels was there any mention of a sacred Warhammer. In fact, most Space Marines just used a gun and a chainsword. There was one Space Marine that did use a Warhammer, but he was a great knight. We then get a really boring suiting up sequence that actually has no music at all, so I'll add some. We've got no money at all. Please don't make us show anything happening because we've got no money at all. We're sorry we couldn't bring you a real movie, but we have no money at all. Oh, and look at this. The awesome tales of the Space Marines. Watch in dumbstruck awe as they load a land speeder into a Thunder Hack dropship. After more boring dialogue that is useless, they finally land on the planet and get ready to carry out their mission. Basically, it's just a rehashed version of the Aliens plot. Space Marines land on a planet because the planet went out of contact and they find bad guys on it. Only Aliens was good and this is crap. For most of the time they're on the planet, they just walk through a desert.
It's all part of a new program we like to call Deep Hurting. Deep Hurting.
Eventually, the Ultra Idiots finally encounter the enemy, only for it to be decent. They find that their land speeder pilot is not responding to their communications. Not having a brain, the brother captain goes to investigate. What does he think the pilots are doing? Playing Warhammer 40k Space Marine on their HUDs? How does he not know that they're already dead? Duh. It gets even dumber. They have to cross a rickety wooden bridge. Okay, Space Marines are 8 feet tall and they have armor that weighs about a half a ton. That bridge should have snapped like a twig under the weight of 2 Space Marines. Eventually we get a fight that's terrible because none of the Space Marines can aim. Yeah, Space Marines that have been training for all their lives can't hit one bloody target. Still, there are a couple of good kills. The captain is apparently named Obvious because he says now we know our enemy, even though only a few seconds before they stepped on a dead Chaos Space Marine. And also they can see that there are different Space Marine bodies stuck up against the wall, there are different glyphs around, so yeah, it was pretty obvious from the outset. And so after that battle, that was decent, but not good, we get more walking!
And it all culminates in Deep Hurting.
Well, after more walking, they reach a base of some description, and the medic turns on a shoulder lamp. Too bad no one told him that Space Marines can see in the bloody dark. Anyway, they get into a battle with a demon, and look at how exciting it is. They're all just standing around shooting into the dark. That's just high entertainment. Eventually, the captain tackles the demon out the window, and they fall into a mist. Oh, I wonder if they survived! After the battle ends, Proteus takes command of the squad, and they walk some more! Eventually, they pick up 2 survivors from the base, and a holy book of some description, and walk some more!
Frank, hand me my microphone. Deep Hurting!
They finally get into another battle, but it's stupid. Not one of those Space Marines shows the slightest bit of tactical sense. It's almost as bad as that idiot who led a charge to melee range in that opening cinematic of Dawn of War. Well, they make it back to their spaceship, and the Space Marines begin suspecting that the 2 survivors might be demons. And apparently they check by bringing in the chapter's flag, which begins sparking. Really? A sparking flag tells you when there's a demon around. Why? Oh yeah, it's on the cheap. And it's gotta be easy to understand. Needless to say, the Sparky flag test was never seen in any of the books. Well, the brother captain, who of course survived the fall, kills this guy, a Space Marine chaplain. This causes the last surviving Imperial Fist Space Marine from the base not to shoot him but yell out and charge, and more stupidity ensues. Ugh. A little throw knocked out a Space Marine? They're designed to take tremendous amounts of punishment, and a little throw knocked him out. I don't even know how that makes sense. That's not the least of it. Really, it seems that the brother captain is dirt stupid, because he is, of course, the demon. How do we know? Because the guy with the flag is still in the room. Why the brother captain did not simply send the flag guy away after shooting the chaplain, who they thought was a demon, I don't know. I guess maybe he got possessed by a stupid demon. Anyway, it gets even dumber when you think about it, because after he shot the chaplain, the flag stopped sparking. So why is it sparking now? Ugh. Let's just get to the final fight. It's okay, but there are still several things wrong with it. But it does work better than the earlier parts of the film, and at the end, Proteus takes on the demon with the magical Warhammer that was never seen before and hopefully will never be seen after, and of course he wins. There is of course one final disappointment. When the ship they are on actually goes into the warp, which is the faster-than-light drive of the Warhammer 40k universe, literally nothing happens. We just get some music that seems out of place, and that's it. I mean, really, it looks like there should have been something there. Did they forget to put it in or something? We then fast forward several years later. Thanks for telling us about it. We could have at least had a 10 years later or 20 years later thing, but of course not. We see Proteus in a command position, and this scene mirrors the scene at the beginning of the film. With that, the film ends, giving us 6 minutes of credits. Literally, the film is only 1 hour, 10 minutes long. Now I know Codex Pictures had almost no budget whatsoever, but that still does not change the fact that this movie is disappointing as all hell. The animation is terrible, the cutscenes in the PS2 game Fire Warrior looked better, the Space Marines are insubstantial and just don't feel like they have any weight whatsoever, they constantly repeat how they march from a crag even though they never do so in the books, the film is bloody boring because all they ever do is walk around, all the Space Marines look the same so keeping track of who's who is almost impossible, the acting is decent but uninspired, and to make matters worse, the screenplay was written by Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett wrote this screenplay. He is the same writer who wrote Eisenhorn, Gaunt's Ghost, and Ravenor. How could someone of his caliber mess this up so bad? Literally, there is no plot in the movie. It's guys walking around and sometimes shooting things. That's it! The fact that Abnett wrote the screenplay seems a bit odd, since the Ultramarines books were written by Graham McNeil. Who knows? Perhaps if he had written the screenplay, then we would have actually gotten a good movie. Do I recommend this film? Well, actually, yes. Hopefully, if enough people buy it, Codex Pictures might actually get enough money together to make a real film, and also hopefully light a fire under Dan Abnett and get his brain working. Now, I also recommend hunting down the live-action cutscenes from the Warhammer 40k game Final Liberation, as they're actually more entertaining than this horrid film. Also, I don't know if you'll be able to find it, because I don't think it actually got finished, but there's supposed to be a German Warhammer 40k film that was also live-action. That would definitely be interesting to see, to say the least. I think this is going to be the last bad movie I ever review. I think I need to look at something better. Like, say, Van Helsing. But for now, this is General Lotz, wishing you good Eisenhorn the miniseries! Damn, I would like that to get made, or whatever makes you happy.